B. Ductile iron pipe. Where ductile iron pipe is to be installed in a bore, the pipe shall be thoroughly cleaned down to the coal tar enamel pipe coating by approved methods. Where damaged, a prime coat compatible to the polyvinyl tape to be used shall then be applied to the pipe. Following the application of the prime coat, the pipe shall be wrapped with Scotch wrap, Trintex V10 polyvinyl tape, or an approved equal. The tape shall not be applied until the prime coat is completely dry. The tape shall be spirally and tightly wrapped on each section of the pipe with a 50% lap. The wrap shall be made to the bell on the bell end and to a point 6 inches from the spigot end. The joint shall be protected with tape 6 inches in width on pipe 12 inches or less in size and with tape 8 inches in width on pipe greater than 12 inches in size. Ductile iron pipe to be installed in a trench shall be protected in the following manner. Each pipe joint shall be covered with a 4 mm think shall cover the full length of the pipe joint, lap over 1 feet on each end of the adjoining pipe joints, and be secured with a minimum of 2 circumferential turns of pressure-sensitive polyvinyl tape. Excess material should be neatly drawn up around the pipe barrel, folded into an overlap on top of the pipe, and held in place by means of pieces of pressure-sensitive tape at approximately 5 feet intervals. After assembling the joint, the poly-wrap tube from the previously installed pipe shall be pulled over the joint and secured by the contractor. The poly-wrap tube from the new joint shall be pulled over the first tube and secured by the contractor to provide a double seal. Cast iron and ductile iron fittings and valves shall be completely wrapped in 8 mm thick polyethylene film with a minimum of 1 feet overlap on each end and appropriately taped. Laps shall cover joints with adjoining pipe joints or fittings when installed. Fire hydrant barrel from the surface to the valve shall be wrapped as specified herein. Any damaged areas in the polyethylene film shall be repaired by covering the area with a sheet of polyethylene film large enough to lap over the damaged area on 1 feet minimum in any direction and appropriately taped. Extreme care shall be taken at service tap locations to ensure that the tape extends beyond the corporation and onto the service line pipe 1 feet prior to placing pipe in the trench. A cushion of approved materials shall be placed in the trench as required by item 400, excavation and backfill for structures. Backfill material shall be carefully placed on the pipe so as to avoid any damage to the polyethylene sleeve. The contractor shall use care to protect and preserve the polyethylene wrap around ductile iron water mains when installed service corporations. The required method is to wrap pipe tape around the pipe over the poly wrap in the area to be tapped. The tap is to be made through the tape and poly wrap. It is not necessary to remove and replace poly wrap. All exposed pipe, the corporation, and the first 3 feet of the service shall be wrapped and taped to achieve a complete seal. In addition, a sand envelope shall extend over and around the connection to a depth of 8 inches above the main. C. Concrete steel cylinder pipe. All exposed steel or cast iron surfaces and appurtenances such as flanges, bolts, threaded outlets, closures, adapters, and caulk joints shall be protected in the field by the application of 1 inch minimum thickness of cement mortar consisting of 1 part hydraulic cement to 2½ parts of the fine sharp plaster sand, and reinforced by heavy 1/2 in mesh hardware cloth secured by wire ties. Surfaces of metal to be mortar coated shall be thoroughly cleaned and drenched with water just prior to placing the mortar and be covered with damp burlap to prevent rapid drying. 15. Protective coating and wrapping on joints. All bolts and nuts installed for underground service on valves, fire hydrants, cast iron mechanical joint fittings, pipe joints, and other ferrous metal appurtenances shall be packed in an approved asphaltic material after installation. After the joint has been made and bolts drawn to proper tension, the joint including glands, flanges, bolt heads, and nuts shall be packed in asphaltic materials such as Texaco Compound L, San Chemink No Oxide, Trenton Temcoat, or approved equal, to a minimum thickness of 1/2 inches over all surface. Coating and wrapping of joints shall be considered subsidiary to the installation and will not be paid for directly. 16. Joint assembly. The installation of pipe and the assembly of rubber ring joints for ductile iron pipe, concrete steel cylinder pipe, shall conform to the pipe manufacturer's assembly instructions. The method of inserting spigot ends of pipe in bells or collars known as stabbing is not permitted with pipe larger than 6 inches in size. Spigot ends of pipe larger than 6 inches in size must be properly inserted in the joint by means of suitable pushing or pulling devices. Assemble and connect mechanical couplings according to the manufacturer's standards. Prior to the installation of the mechanical coupling, pipe ends shall be cleaned by wire brush or other acceptable method to provide a smooth bearing surface for the rubber compression gasket. The pipe shall be marked to align the end of the coupling, which will center it over the joint. After positioning, the nuts shall be drawn up finger tight. Uniform pressure on the gaskets shall be applied by tightening alternate bolts on the opposite side of the circle in incremental amounts. Final tensioning shall be accomplished with a torque wrench and in a manner similar to the tightening procedure. The coupling shall then be left undisturbed for 24 hours to allow the gaskets to pack in. Final torque check shall then be made prior to coating and wrapping the joint. Table 6, Torque for Mechanical Couplings, sets forth the proper torque for various sized mechanical couplings and is included for the convenience of the contractor. Table 6 shows torque for mechanical couplings 17 polyvinyl chloride pipe and accessories. Plastic pipe shall be joined in accordance with the instructions furnished by the manufacturer. Pipe joint using solvent cementing techniques is not to be handled or installed in the trench until after the joints are sufficiently cured to prevent weakening the joint. Lubrication for rubber gasketed joints shall be water-soluble, non-toxic, and non-objectionable in taste and odor imparted to the fluid, non-supporting of bacteria growth, and has no deteriorating effect on PVC or the rubber gaskets. The maximum bury depth of tracer wire shall be 3 feet, minimum depth shall be 1 foot. Tracer wire shall be utilized for location purposes. Tracer wire shall be of solid core, 14 gauge insulated, and shall be taped to the main in minimum of 10 inches increments. Wire shall also come up to the top of valve extensions and fire hydrant stems, as directed by the inspector. 18 Fittings. Fittings 6 inches through 12 inches in size shall be either mechanical joint, push-on joint short body, or push-on joint compact body unless otherwise stated on the plans. Fittings 16 inches through 24 inches in size shall be mechanical joint type unless otherwise specified on the plans. Adapters shall be used where necessary to provide a transition between asbestos cement pipe and the fittings. When asbestos cement pipe is used, a rubber ring joint shall be provided not more than 7 feet from both sides of fitting unless a rubber joint fitting is used. Restraints shall be provided as specified on the plans or as directed. 19 Tie-in to existing mains. The contractor shall make all ties to existing mains required by the plans as soon as pipe laying reaches the designated location, except where the plans provide for the tie-in to be made after the new main has been released for service by the water system company. Ties to existing mains are to consist of wet and dry connections. A wet connection is a connection to a water main under pressure and is made by a pipe tapping machine without interrupting service to customers. A dry connection is a connection to a water main while the main is empty. Cutting, capping, plugging, adapters, couplings, and abandoning existing water mains shall be considered subsidiary to new main construction and will not be paid for directly. 20 Abandonment of old mains and valves. The contractor shall accomplish all cutting, capping, plugging, and blocking necessary to isolate those existing mains retained in service from those abandoned. The open ends of abandoned mains and all other openings or holes in such mains occasioned by cutting or removal of outlets shall be blocked off by manually forcing cement grout or concrete into and around the openings in sufficient quantity to provide a permanent, substantially watertight seal. Valves abandoned in the execution of the work are to have the valve box and extension filled with Class D concrete or an equivalent sand cement mix and finished flush with the adjacent pavement or ground surface. The valve covers shall be salvaged and returned to the water system company. Abandoning old mains and valves shall be considered subsidiary to the installation and will not be paid for directly. 21 Jacking, boring, open cut or tunneling pipe. Jacking, boring, open cut, or tunneling for water mains shall be performed at the locations shown on the plans and at such other locations specifically designated. Jacking, boring or tunneling operations are to conform to the requirements of item 476, jacking, boring or tunneling pipe or box. 22. Installation in casing. Ductile iron pipe installed in the casing shall be coated and wrapped in accordance with the plans and subsection 3b. 14b. Coating and wrapping underground pipe, ductile iron pipe, of this special specification. 23. Installation of split, RCP, conduit. Install all split RCP conduit at the locations and in accordance with the details shown on the plans. The work involved in the installation of split RCP conduit shall consist of excavation through whatever material encountered, cleaning existing ductile or cast iron pipe by approved methods and wrapping prior to its encasement by using split RCP conduit in accordance with subsection 3b. 14b of this special specification, coating and wrapping underground pipe. Ductile iron pipe, cutting, where required, the RCP along the longitudinal axis of each joint, placement and compaction, where required, of approved bedding and backfill, cast-in-place concrete cradles for existing water mains, longitudinal stabilizing beams for the split RCP conduit, and other work as may be required or directed.